was going to do this video with me on camera and everything, but I've been having so many issues doing it that I'm just going to try just a voiceover instead. Okay? Okay. Cool. Hi, I'm Ariel of the Pixel Squad. Welcome to a, Pixel essay? I don't know. But let's get into it. Although, I'm going to be honest, I'm not even sure how to do this video. How can I make a point when the evidence to prove or disprove my suspicions just doesn't exist? As some of you may know, we recently played through Okage Shadow King. If you're not familiar with the game, please feel free to give our playlist a watch. Especially since the whole reason I got into this mess was because of the game's ending. When I finally finished the game, I was really dissatisfied with the ending. Now, maybe it's just because I started the game as a kid and didn't finish it until I was an adult, but it seemed off. It seemed kind of rushed, almost unfinished, so I started wondering, did the studio run out of money? Or maybe time? I mean, Okage has no post-game whatsoever. This wasn't unusual for the time, though, but it is pretty short for a turn-based JRPG. I even did all of the side quests. I didn't look at my time in this game, but I think it was about 30 hours, and at least 2 of those hours were just on the pause screen. Possibly even more. I get called away a lot. So, with my dissatisfaction with the ending being my motivation, I did some research. And since it's the 20th anniversary of Okage, holy shit, I'm getting old. This seemed like a great time to show some love for the game by delving into its past. So, to start us off, let's talk about Okage. Okage Shadow King, Boku to Moe in Japan, is a quirky turn-based RPG developed by Sony Computer Entertainment and Zenerworks LLC. More on them later. It was released on March 15, 2001 in Japan, and released in English only a few months later on October 1, 2001. It also got Japan's equivalent of the PS2 Greatest Hits release, called PlayStation 2 The Best Series, release on August 1, 2002. The game follows the semi-silent protagonist named Ariel, originally Wilkur, after he is possessed by the Shadow Evil King, Stan, and leaves to defeat the fake evil kings that have appeared across the land. There's a total of 5 party members you can recruit: a disgraced heroine, a weirdo ghost scientist, a big dumb tough guy, a wannabe diva, and a mysterious wizard phantom illusionist guy. For part of the game, you are also joined by the game's princess, but she remains non-playable. The game's combat functions are an action bar-based system, and the party is limited to 3 members, one of which must always be Ariel. Stan, in exchange for kidnapping you, will occasionally help you in battle, but you generally shouldn't rely on him to do so. The game over requirement is that Ariel reaches 0 HP, regardless of anyone else's status. Personally, that's not my preferred method, but it is what it is. The world in Okage is pretty small, consisting of a total of 5 cities and 6 dungeons, spread across about 5 zones, roughly. We got 7 bosses, and get ready to hear the words Evil King a lot. First, there's Sewer Evil King, then Bubble Evil King, Ex-Chairman Evil King, Bowl Evil King, Teen Idol Evil King, Phantom Evil King, Vampire Evil King, and the final boss, The final boss is actually introduced before you confront the Phantom Evil King, but that's spoiler territory. We'll get to that. Overall, the game manages to keep a lighthearted and goofy tone, even when the plot jumps from 0 to 100. And if you have to find a moral or something, there's a kind of through line of Ariel learning to speak up for himself and not just let everyone else control his life. That's kind of a lesson to live by, right? But now, let's talk the issues. Although this is more of a quirk than an issue, Ariel's design is actually different in the Japanese version. Honestly, the original does fit the art style better, but the eyes are a little bit creepy, so I'm not going to complain. There's several typos in the game, with the most noticeable being the move Short Surrogate. At least, I'm pretty confident it's supposed to be Short Circuit. I got the Japanese guide just to see if this was a translation typo, but the move appears to be different in Japanese. After fighting the Phantom Evil King, there's a text box that appears mislabeled and maybe out of place. It's very jarring, and I still don't really know what's supposed to be there. I honestly spent a while digging through every scene where you talk to him to see if maybe the text box was meant to be in a previous scene. Nope. I got no clue. Moving on. There's a riddle in the game that's just straight up unsolvable in English, because the answer in Japanese is a pun, but they translated the riddle literally. That, in and of itself, isn't evidence of the game being rushed. It is a very strange decision. But what I really want to talk about is the ending. And now I'm doing spoilers at this point. I mean, come on, the game is 20 years old now. I'm so old. And we have a playlist for the game and everything. So there's the spoiler warning. Do I do a countdown? 3, 2, 1, I guess. Spoilers! Once the plot jumps to 100, you discover that the real princess is lost somewhere in the world. During the game, it becomes pretty obvious that she's in Trieste, which apparently barely exists to most people, but you're not able to reach her. Now, with the villain being her father, who's gone just a bit crazy because he can't find her, this seems like it should really come back later. And it does, in a way, but not how I was expecting. The real Marlene does emerge at the end and come to Ariel's house, but that's kind of it. Does she know everything that the fake Marlene know? It kinda seems like she does, because she knows who Ariel is and recognizes the music box. But she never really says anything one way or the other. And the ending's cutscene dialogue isn't very useful. I should mention that someone on Tumblr did find a different version of that cutscene, but the dialogue boxes aren't populated, so I guess we'll never know. Anyway, that's weird on its own, but I was really expecting to reunite Marlene and Beiloune. Yeah, he became the villain, but he wasn't really as two-dimensional as villains usually were at the time. Beiloune literally created the world so his daughter could play and be whatever she wanted to be, but she vanished. Since he was never able to find her, he made a puppet of her and brought that to life. Weird, but okay, honestly. Grieving parents have done some strange things in reality, so that's believable. But when you defeat him, and he leaves to find Marlene, Ariel doesn't really stop him. And maybe that makes sense, but I was really expecting to find Marlene ourselves, and find out what she wanted, and maybe introduce her to Beiloune at that point. But alas, the game ends. And that's not my only gripe with the ending, either. Everyone just kind of leaves. Immediately. Apros leaving doesn't not make sense, since what he was looking for wasn't super defined anyway. Linda following Apros makes sense, even if it pisses me off. Kisling is a wandering scholar, so him wandering off also makes sense to an extent. But to me, it seems weird that Rosalind, Stan, and Big Bull would leave. Maybe it is just me, but Big Bull seems like the kind of character that would just hang around and be your friend, even if you really wanted him to leave. And it seemed like Rosalind was really going to take you under her wing and maybe help you become a hero or something, even if her compatibility cutscene was her talking about how she became a hero to feel like she was doing good, while we were doing good without looking for any sort of recognition. but it still really seemed like she was going to hang around. I guess the implication is that she got distracted chasing Stan down, but still. And Stan, I guess, doesn't want Ariel around, but we were such a good slave! And also, apparently he does like us, because he just shows up post-credits again! I don't know if I'm articulating my point, but it kind of seemed like the writers were just trying to force a resolution to things without actually resolving them. Maybe it's just me. It very well could be, but I was expecting more to happen in the game. Hell, Apros was in your party for literally one chapter. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on JRPGs, but that's a bit weird, isn't it? And it really seemed like there was going to be more in the story, too. I mean, going through the world without classification changing things would be interesting, right? So, why didn't we? What happened? Well, I don't really know. I reached out to Zenerworks, because yes, they do still exist, but I didn't get any response at all. But I can, at the very least, tell you what I did find about Zenerworks. Which isn't much, admittedly, and kind of just confuses things further. Zenerworks Incorporated, or Zenerworks Company Limited, or whatever it is, was founded in July 1990. They are a third-party developer and almost exclusively make Japan-only games, starting with Little Masters on the Game Boy on April 19, 1991, followed by another Little Masters Game Boy game on March 27, 1992, and a third release for the Super Famicom on June 30, 1995. But from there, there's a gap until Okage in 2001. I even went through the Wayback Machine to see if I could fill in the gap anymore, because I'm not sure if 6 years in production is normal. Their website prior to the release of Okage is non-functional. Once Okage is released, the site matches the font used for Okage. In 2003, they updated the website with this art of Okage, so clearly the game was a big deal, and the website remained this way until April 2008. At this point, Okage was still listed on the website, along with the 2002 release, but the website was redone with less of an Okage influence. The next website update was in 2012, aligning with most of their recent game releases. Because in 2012, they started making almost exclusively mobile games, including some available on PlayStation Mobile, which basically is the only games they made on their own. Almost every other game they were working with another company. Sony, Nintendo, AQ Interactive, Konami, Sega, Square Enix, and so on. And out of their entire catalog, only 5 games were released outside Japan, with one of those being, I shit you not, a Facebook game. They also have a thing for card games, but not like good card games, mostly baseball cards for some reason. Maybe baseball cards are big in Japan? I know baseball was, for a while at least. Whatever. Among their mobile games, they've even done a companion app for Metal Gear Solid. And as far as I can tell, based on Zener's own website, most of their mobile games aren't even being supported anymore. So, I don't know what they're doing. Metal Gear Solid was their most recent app, and support for that ended in 2018. I don't know if they're working on something or not. All I know is that the website is still up and running. It does seem like they've never been one to share developer notes or interviews or anything. I dug through the graveyards of the internet, in English and Japanese, and couldn't find a single interview or anything prior to Okage, aside from a trailer and a couple of reviews, and those reviews were not very helpful. Honestly, I'm at a loss. I set out to do all this research in the first place, just to try and figure out why the ending to Okage was so half-assed, and I've really got nothing to show for it. I have no evidence one way or another, except that the studio did not go bankrupt because it still exists. I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to fall. However, is one thing my brother and I found. I recently ordered a physical copy of Okage for myself, in addition to the Prima and Famitsu strategy guides, and decided to look at the disc. I'm not a data miner, let me start with that. So these are surface level observations. Okage is a tiny game, really. I compared it to Final Fantasy VII Disc 1, just to use a PS1 JRPG from the same era, Dark Cloud 2, a PS2 JRPG from the same era, and also Resident Evil Damnation, just to have a DVD for comparison, too. It was honestly the first one I grabbed. Originally, I was just trying to tell if Okage was a CD or a DVD, but all of the games have the same CDFS codec, so I don't know. I do think it's telling that Okage is like 75% of the size of one disc of Final Fantasy VII. The FMVs of Final Fantasy aside, that seems significant. What's more significant is that Okage is about 1/10 the size of Dark Cloud 2. Now, Dark Cloud 2 was released after Okage, but I don't have the first one for comparison, so Dark Cloud 2 it is. It is twice as long as Okage, but I don't think that in and of itself leads to how big the game is in comparison. I don't know, maybe it's a bad comparison, but it does seem to suggest that Okage was maybe originally intended for PlayStation 1, and was then changed over to PS2 before release. Hi, Editing Ariel here with an addendum important enough to record additional audio. While going through the video, my brother revealed that he just so happened to have a copy of the original Dark Cloud this entire time. Oh no! And he gave me that and a copy of this game, Ever Grace, to compare. Both games were released before Okage in 2000. Both games are also DVDs compared to Okage's CD, and both games are bigger than Okage. This doesn't make anything more clear, but it does give additional evidence to the idea that Okage was probably developed for the PS1. Not that that helps much, but that's what I got. While researching the difference between the PS1 and the PS2, I came across a memoir post about the PS2's backwards compatibility from one of the major players in that development, Tetsuya Ida. It looks like work on the PS2 started in 1998, and then he was set to work on the PS1 hardware and emulator for the PS2, and it was officially announced in Japan on March 2nd, 1999. Since Tetsuya Ida was employed by Sony Computer Entertainment, obviously, and Zener was working on Okage under Sony at the same time, it doesn't seem like a leap in logic to think they directed Zener to aim for a PS2 release. The PS2 was released in Japan on March 4th, 2000, and Okage was released a little over a year after that. Was Okage intended to be a release title? Maybe there were setbacks. If we assume that Zener started Okage right after Little Masters in 1995, keeping in mind that this was their jump to 3D graphics, and then 3 years into development, Sony was like, yo, this looks pretty good, but want to make it for the PS2 instead? Would it then make sense for development to take another 3 years? That doesn't seem right. Granted, it's very possible that they started Okage significantly after Little Masters. With so little information publicly available, I have no idea! I can't prove or disprove any of my speculation because there's just nothing out there!
There's nothing here!
I just wanted to give a bit of history on a nearly unknown developer, but I can't. So, if anyone happens to have more information, I'd be happy to do a follow-up video or an amendment or something. But so far as the conclusion goes, Okage Shadow King is undoubtedly the most famous game Zener developed, which is kind of saying a lot, because only like 50 people know about it. They did make a random Pokemon trading card DS game, so hell, maybe that's better known. But still, for those who have played Okage, it holds a special place in our hearts. Even if it can be frustrating as all hell sometimes. So I want to thank you all for watching, for all of you who made it this far. This was my first scripted review video, if you can call it that. So, obviously, there's a bunch of things that I could improve next time. But if there's something else you want us to try, then definitely let us know. Although I can't guarantee that I can get Brian or Austin to do one. But we'll see. As a side note, back when we were kids and we were playing Okage for the first time, I made my brother a t-shirt for Okage with some fabric paints that I put Stan on the back of. And if I had it, I would absolutely show it to you, because I distinctly remember that when I took it off my little cardboard easel, that I had made Stan crooked. But we can't find it. If I ever do find it, trust me, I'll let you guys know. But for now, tune in next time or check out some of our games, please. Or should I do the generic like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell, baby? No, ignore that.